Welcome everyone to another Athearn Extra. So glad that you could join us. If you're joining us live, thank you for joining us. If you are catching us later on our YouTube channel, thank you so much for checking us out. If you enjoy the content that you're seeing, such as this, please do the Athearn team a favor. Please like this video, comment in this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, hit the notification bell. That way, every time a new video like this drops into our YouTube channel, you're notified. So, we've got a special guest tonight. It is July, of course, and most people probably are not thinking about trains, but I am, and a few of you that are joining us tonight, you are too. And what better time to have a train show is in the middle of the hottest part of the year for us in Illinois. And we're going to be talking about the St. Louis RPM. So before we get started, I'm going to do a few shout outs and see a few people are joining the feed as we speak. So let's see who's joining us. I see Keegan is out there. I see Darby Rail Service has joined us. DG Model Works is in the house. Hopefully it's a little bit cooler out your way. And the Ray Arnott, he is here. The Ray Arnott from Around the Layout podcast. He is joining us as well. And let's see, Michael Fedora is here as well. Richie, pleased to see you on board. TMA62, thank you for joining us, and many more. So thank you for joining us, and back to what we were talking about. I love RPM meets. RPM meets are a chance for you, the modeler, to bring your stuff to the show and admire other people's creations as well as your own. And one of my favorite RPMs I started going to probably a little bit over 10, 13 years ago was the St. Louis RPM meet. St. Louis RPM meet has grown over the years, and it's now probably the largest RPM meet in the country. Now, if you're not familiar with an RPM meet, what the RPM meet is, it's not your typical train show. This is a train show that is made for modelers by modelers. If you are into scratch building structures, if you're into kit bashing cars, if you're into custom painting locomotives, or doing layouts that have a strong prototype theme, this is your kind of show to go to. And for many years, the St. Louis RPM meet has been at the forefront of catering to this style of modeling. Now, I found myself there a few years back with my own layout and was welcomed by the RPM community in the area very nicely. And so always lots of fun to go back to that show and see what everybody's working on, and of course, meet up with old friends. So my guest tonight is Lonnie. Lonnie's been the one of the biggest operators of this St. Louis RPM meet. He is one of the organizers. There's a team behind him. He'll tell us more about that in a minute. But Lonnie really is the driving force behind the St. Louis RPM meet. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on Lonnie and introduce him to you. Good evening, Lonnie. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing, Jim?
Fine. Oh, doing great. You know, we're just reminiscing here about the St. Louis RPM, and I'm sure you are an extremely busy man right now.
It seems like there's not enough hours to sleep, and I don't have enough phones in my hand or text messages to get back to people. It's busy, busy, busy.
So, Lonnie, for those who are watching either on the live feed or later on our YouTube channel, give us a little bit of background about the St. Louis RPM. Give us that origin story.
Okay. Well, this is our 17th. It's been around for probably 20 years. I think the first was John Golden in maybe 04. And then there was a year or two or three skipped along the way for various reasons. But it's been going strong the whole time, growing from when John first decided to have one in O'Fallon, that we might have had 60 to 90 people, a few vendors and so forth. My job there was to unload the 8-foot long tables out of a rented trailer. And then from there, our friendship grew and our partnership in this, along with others that were key players, to what it is today.
Now, you advertise on your website, and those that are watching, if you see this video and you're like, wow, you know, I want to hear more about this, we have put a link in the video description below. So it goes right to the St. Louis RPM meet. But Lonnie, this is advertised as probably one of the biggest RPM meets in the country. How many people normally attend your event?
We have had 800 to 850 in most recent years. For whatever reason, our gut feeling is we'll top 900 this year. Part of it is just the number of people that have called us that never have before, looking for hotels, that sort of thing. We seem to get a lot of good press out at Amherst this year, as well as other big events. And so there are people from parts of the country that probably don't normally venture to the Midwest that are making their pilgrimage here for the first time. So we think it'll be bigger than ever. And we have more vendors than ever and more exhibitors. We probably grew that by around 15%. So it's, any way we measure it, it looks larger than it ever has been, but it's been for years larger than the others. That doesn't make it better by any stretch. I enjoy going to a few of them that I can get to in Chicago and Cocoa Beach. They're all great. They're all fun. I learn at every one of them. Ours just happens to be run the way it's run with a certain business model in the central part of the United States at a good time of year. And we've had the right chemistry in brain power and volunteers and support.
You know, the show for me has always been a favorite because it's centrally located. It's pretty much in the middle of the country. You've got a great venue. It's always been a great venue, and just the way the venue was built, it's strategically located so that you're within walking distance of your hotel, restaurants, and everything. The nice thing about your show is you can come in on a Friday morning and set up your layout, your display models, whatever, and not have to worry about the car again until Saturday evening.
Yeah, it's the location. You can take Amtrak from wherever Amtrak is near you to St. Louis. You can, of course, fly into the airport if you want. We're at the 11-mile marker on the Illinois side, so that puts us, 11 miles from the Arch, and probably 12
Mm.
miles from the Union Station and Amtrak, and not too far from the airport. Lots of interstates around here, so it has. I think the location, both geographically in the United States, and this is a wonderful facility, as you said, with all the hotels and so many other things you want within walking distance.
For somebody that's never been to any RPM meet, but specifically the St. Louis RPM meet, let them know what is it they're going to see that's different from the traditional train show.
Well, um, I would say that generically we're all lumped in as RPMs into this category called train shows. But if you think of what you go to at a train show and you see lots of used trains and trays, stuff that you don't even want to give away, let alone buy, and maybe layouts running that are very toy like, filled with strollers and young families, those are great ways to buy stuff you need at a certain price or to get the family into it and just enjoy the love of trains. But when you go to an RPM meet anywhere, ours included, it, as you said in your introduction, it's catering to the people that either want to get better in anything you want to measure, their ability to build models, to understand the prototype operations of their favorite roads, any of that. And for those who are so good at doing that, they flock to this thing to share their talents and their knowledge. And that's a lot different than a train show per se. So I think most RPMs call themselves an RPM meet. That's what we mean to. Sometimes we use the word conference, and I don't know that that's uh, a pure definition because there are a lot of clinics and you can go to classes all day long. But when you throw in all the exhibitors and the things you can buy and see, it takes a little bit away from a conference, although many conferences and many industries have trade shows to go with them to show you what's new in the industry for you to hire goods, buy goods and hire services. And we certainly try to do that at ours.
Yeah, and as you said in the past, and I believe your website says it as well. You know, the attendees, the ones with the models, they're the show, and that's what's so different from a traditional train show. And it doesn't matter. Maybe you're scratch building a certain structure for your layout. Maybe you're kit bashing an Athearn semi truck, something of that nature. Even if it's not done, you can bring that to the show, and it's so neat. There's just aisles and aisles of displays in all different scales and of prototype models that folks are working on. And it's also a great way to meet other people with the same interests as you and gather and get ideas. And I think that's another thing that really separates the RPM from your traditional train show.
I think you're spot on there. I would never take a model to display at a swap meet or a train show, especially a train show as they're originally defined. But I've taken expensive brass locomotives, custom painted by me or others, set them on the table and talk to people about them and don't give it a thought to leave it there all day unattended. The RPM community is somewhat small relative to the hobby, and you get to know a lot of people. It's not a clique, but they're certainly close. And I trust the people around me. And the idea that you said about the models is so important. I don't know how many we'll have this year. We always shoot for 5,000. Haven't got there yet, but we have thousands and thousands of models. And if you didn't want to go to a vendor table, didn't want to attend a clinic, home layouts, socialize at all, you can spend all day studying the models.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know last year you had a lot of different models, and this year I'm actually going to bring mine as well, just because Shane Mason and I kind of had a bet that we needed to get some of our stuff out there as well. But
What?
I just spent a large, if I wasn't working the booth, I try to sneak out a little bit, and the level of modeling is just amazing. I mean, these are the models, like you said, you're not going to see at a regular train show because there's risk of them getting damaged somehow. With an RPM meet, like you said, you can put your items on a table and they're fine for the day. You don't have to worry about it. Everybody that goes to an RPM meet, there's a decorum, there is a respect level where you look with your eyes and not your fingers. And I think that boundary, with that boundary removed, a lot more people feel comfortable to bring their models. And the other thing that I really enjoy too is, like I was saying earlier, even if your model isn't complete, bring it along, because you might be stuck on something and somebody else that's done something similar is going to talk to you. And it's just a great way to bounce off ideas with other modelers and just, figure out how to do those different things that we need to get done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. On our website, on the resource tab, we have the ability to download a registration form that you can pre-populate digitally, there on the website. So you can print off whatever you want to say about your model, include whatever information to contact you. So when someone comes up and said, what kind of paint is that? Or where'd you get the trucks? Or how on the earth did you build that? If you're not standing there, they know the cell phone number or an email or something to reach you. And that's, I think, very important for the camaraderie of the RPM community. And yeah, we all exchange ideas. And it's, as I try to explain to my friends who are just golfers or hunters or other neighbors I have, and they know the countless hours I put into this thing and then disappear from the neighborhood for 2 or 3 days, I say, I don't know how to relate to you on this, but if you grew up in this country in the last 50 years, you've heard the word Mattel or Schwinn or Barbie or whatever, and you've heard the word Tiger Woods or these other names. And in our hobby, the people that have the popularity of a Tiger Woods, they're there, and you can talk to them, you can shake their hand, you can ask them questions, because they're the sort of superstars that know how to do stuff that a lot of us don't. And then your own company, it's a stalwart in the industry, and so there you are. I can go up and talk to you. I can see the stuff you're going to come out with that you brought out, ask you questions. Sometimes I feel sorry for you guys because you get pestered. Why aren't you making this? Why aren't you doing that? But there you are for us to talk to. And that's not a train show. That's a meet, that's a conference. And so we're one of those RPMs that offer that sort of thing and attract people for those reasons.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point about getting questions. And actually, I enjoy the RPMs more than your typical train show because your caliber of questions are going to be different. At a regular train show, you might still get the how fast does it go, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
The RPM meet, you're talking to educated individuals that are craftsmen in their league, and in many cases, they're historical authorities on the railroads that they're modeling. So when they come to you, they're not just talking in generalities. They're actually asking you specific questions about specific locomotives and things of that nature. And I'll admit, I mean, with all the different railroads out there and all the different eras that people are modeling, I myself don't know everything there is to know about model railroading, but I can usually bounce it off our product development or somebody else at Athearn. But it's just nice to have that type of caliber of questions because at that point, as someone that works for a manufacturer, my guard is down at that point because now I'm with my, quote unquote brethren. We're of the same, caliber. Everybody's there to have a good time, and I've never had a bad RPM. It's always one of my favorite shows to go to.
Well, thank you on behalf of all of us that do the work to put all these things on from coast to coast. We love having you there.
Well, thank you. Another thing that's really important that you kind of touched upon too is how, you're going to see those folks that are published or, dare I say, famous in the industry, but also very approachable. But don't think for a second that just because this show is in St. Louis, you're just going to see railroads of the Midwest. And I was happily surprised many years ago looking through some of the display things and seeing all of this New England stuff. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm in the Midwest right now. Then come to find out a neighbor, technically not a close neighbor, but still a neighbor of another New Hampshireite, Jim DeFore, was there at the show giving a clinic on his Boston and Maine layout. So you guys have done a great job of getting not just the locals, but you've really grabbed in folks from all over the country. I know you've had folks as far away as Oklahoma and Texas come as well.
Yeah, we have a good mix of, first, I think you go back to the historical societies. We push encouraging historical societies to be there as exhibitors, representatives of their group. So this year we have 16 or 17 of them. Sometimes we've had more. We have a couple new ones this year and a couple others just couldn't find the personnel to be there with us. But they represent all parts of the country, coast to coast, border to border. And then with that, the manufacturers and exhibitors represent every railroad out there. The modelers and all of those thousands of models, I'm not sure what railroad that you don't see. All the big oldies are there, and of course, new short lines, and then people dig up stuff from narrow gauge to whatever to bring there. So it's quite a wide variety of models displayed and things you can buy or see from that represent everything across the country.
Yeah, that's really true. Now, for our folks that are joining us online, in the last few minutes of the live feed, we are going to open the forum up for questions. So if you've got a question for Lonnie specifically about the RPM meet, and it's just next weekend, it's coming right up, put that in the comment box when it's time for questions, and I will try to grab those and let Lonnie answer them. Now, Lonnie, back to you. Personally, now you've been in the hobby for a number of years. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in the hobby and what you're working on currently for a railroad or a layout.
Okay. I started at Christmas of '76. I was a senior in college, so it was about the right time. I was going to have a place to live, a paycheck from a job, and no kids, and some time. So I then went into the modeling of all that. I've always liked Illinois Central, and then learned to like the Golf Mobile in Ohio, and then eventually the Illinois Central Golf. So those three, I just love every bit of it, from almost steam era to almost Canadian national. So anywhere in there is fine with me. I tend to model the 70s and some of the 80s, so plenty of orange stuff with all kinds of logos and things as they change the font or change the the logo or emblem along the way, and like every part of it. And in my own interest, I've been a supporter for over 25 years with a 44 by 50 foot model railroad HO scale in the back end of my office building downtown Litchfield. And I've opened that to the public a couple times a year, both as a fundraiser for local charitable groups, promoting the Chamber of Commerce when they have Christmas walks and things like that, and promoting the hobby. And that's a Midwestern theme, which all of the members have the right to put their stuff out there and take turns hosting. And we see everything from probably Santa Fe Steam to modern BNSF. In my home, I'm starting to build about the same size, double layout level of probably the late 70s, early 80s for ICG, and include that whole potpourri of color from red and white GM&O units to orange and gray. And that's where my passion is for that.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I share some affinity for ICG because seeing it as a kid, that was one of the big railroads in New England to us. And then finally moving out here, getting to finally rail fan it, that was a lot of fun. One of the things, again, that separates an RPM from train shows is the clinics, of course. But the really fun thing is the layout tours. And just like every year, you're going to have some layout tours. Tell us a little bit about some of the layouts that you're going to be spotlighting this year.
Okay, glad you brought that up because due to popular demand, we've been asked to extend the length of the meet this year. So we've included 2 home layout tours on Thursday night, which is a first for us. Normally we have 2 on Friday night. So we have 4 layouts that are a short drive from the Collinsville area. They're all on the Illinois side of the Mississippi, so people can get there and not stay out too late. All you have to do is come on Thursday night and find us at Bandanas, which is a local barbecue restaurant that is a hangout for dozens and dozens of RPMers Thursday night, or go to Doubletree and I'll sit there for a couple hours and hand out maps of those layouts. So yes, that's a vital part. People love to see real layouts, and all 4 of these have been published in national magazines. They've had plenty of tours through the NMRA, some of which have been through previous RPM meets that we put on, and they're crowd pleasers. Highly detailed, very well done. The clinics, just to touch briefly on that, we started several years ago when John was still with us. I asked him if we could sort of focus on a theme and do a deeper dive at that particular annual meet on some topic. It could be grain or moving passengers or whatever. You could put down 15 or 20 major areas or categories that we as modelers try to learn more about: technology, track laying, spray painting, whatever. And so each year for the last half a dozen years, we've had a theme. And of our 21 clinics, we only run a clinic once. We don't have the infrastructure to have several going at the same time. So we run 2 clinics at a time, all day, Friday and Saturday. And we feature a keynote speaker on Friday night. So whatever the theme would be, that keynote speaker highlights that. They might be a real industry leader or specialist or someone from the hobby, or command a great knowledge about that particular topic. And this year, the easy word is weathering. We call it one for the ages. It's the art of weathering your trains, your structures, your freight cars, and locomotives to fit that era. And Butch Eiler is our keynote speaker. As I've said to others, he's taken one 86-foot boxcar that was done in Ann Arbor. It was done by Tangent and in 4 different eras of that car, and he's weathered it at about a year old in each of those 4 eras over 30 years. Same car. Might be a different number, but it all started out with an Ann Arbor scheme on it and then morphed through other things. So I thought it was an incredible way to show the audience, here's how you weather something for that era that you want to model. And he's going to go through a 30-year period on that. Wow. And others have some beautiful layouts, are incredible with vehicles or rolling stock or locomotives that will also be talking about how they use their skill, the tools, the techniques to bring something to a specific point in time with a certain railroad and give examples of that. And then I know that if you're going to attract a lot of people, you have to have a lot of different interests that you're trying to serve. So while that might be close to 50% of the theme of the clinics offered, we also do the regular thing that all RPMs do. Could be track, could be painting, layouts, all the stuff that we're all interested in. So, and I think the clinics and the models make an RPM an RPM. The fact that we work hard, as do other RPMs, to have very select vendors there, exhibitors, also set us apart from anybody's train show. So that's all part of it.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and it's just a great way if you've like I said, if you've never been and you're at that point where you're building your layout, you're working on some things, you're starting to really narrow your focus, your area, your road and stuff. You owe it to yourself to hop on board. Lonnie, have you got a time for a few questions from the audience?
Yes, but the first thing I want to do is to ask everyone that's listening and watching that if you want to learn more about any RPM, just go to the National RPM website. They're all listed. They talk about each one of them. They give you dates, people to contact, and so forth. So no matter where you're on the country, there's probably something in driving distance that you can go and be a part of an RPM. In our specific case, we just use www.stlrpm.com. And there's a tab for every question you might have, from hotels to schedule to theme to whatever. And it lists all the exhibitors, and almost all of you have a link. So we put the link in there. So when they go and they say, oh, cool, Athearn's going to be there, they can click on your link and go right to your product line and your company and all the things you offer. So it's a great way to pass time. Probably the coolest thing we've added lately is the tab for all the previous models. And I'm not sure we have every one of the other 16 on there. We have a lot. And you can see thousands and thousands and thousands of models up close and personal. It's the only way I get to look at them. I'm too busy during the event.
Yeah, that's right. You are a busy man.
But sure,
Let's see.
great.
I got a question here from Mr. Terry Poole. He's got a good question for you. He says, any advice on starting an RPM here in South Carolina? I don't think we have anything close to that here. Definitely want to go to one.
I think you could call me on your own and I'd tell you how John got this started, how he built it, and how we grew it. My impression of a couple of the others that I think do a lot of things right. Give you some suggestions on what you have to include, no matter how big or small yours would be. It's a place to start. And we've seen a couple of them start in recent years that we've had conversations with them. So feel free to call. But yeah, there's a certain chemistry you have to create in order to attract people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the first, line of information would be to go to the website that you talked about to see, if there is something there that near you that you might not be aware of. And if not, then you can go. The nice thing about the RPM community is it's a very open and accepting community. And really, I mean, just willing to, share the information so that everybody has a successful RPM meet.
Be glad to talk to him.
Let's see what else we've got here. A couple of questions. I've seen some questions tonight on availability of items. Nick, you were asking about the Canadian Pacific heritage and military units. I'm actually going to have those at the RPM, which means they should be available here in about 6 weeks. We just got them in the photo studio. Now, you might not be anywhere near St. Louis. If not, I apologize. But we are going to have those at the RPM meet so people can see them up close and personal. But your wait is about over. There were some other ones in there as well. Really not the program for that theme, but do realize that we are finally starting to get rid of that log jam that we had as a manufacturer and getting items out. We're slowly getting more shipments coming out. So the end of this summer into the fall, you're going to see a lot of those things that we had been announcing a few years back, finally coming into stock. Let's see if I've got any other questions here for you. Lonnie, while I look for a question, I'm going to ask you one. What do you think is the hardest thing that you, as a show director, have to do every year for the RPM? I mean, there's got to be something that a monumental task that always has to get done.
I think that the work aligning the clinicians and the exhibitors is hundreds and hundreds of phone calls,
Mm,
emails, contacts in different ways. For having 85 exhibitors, let's say, there might be 700 phone calls, emails, text messages, and all that. So that's a real time consumer over several months. And there's other parts that take time as well. But I think the thing that I always have to push home to my partners who are very hard workers, and this could not happen if it weren't for those other people that you see on the website and on our program list. I would say that maintaining a balance. I think the reason ours is as large as it is and successful as it is, not only do we seek, you know, super exhibitors such as yourself and historical societies and clinicians and so forth, there's a balance. And I would say to the gentleman who asked about starting one in South Carolina, most of the RPMs have 100 people or 200 people maybe. And, they have some great models and all that. And they're not maybe ever going to be huge because of limiting factors. The hotel or business model or the location of where they are in the country and so forth. But to draw people, humans are humans and they want to have fun. They want to be entertained. They want a balance of everything. So you can't give them crummy hotels, crummy food, few models, no exhibitors, this, that, and the other. You have to have a balance of all that. And we constantly juggle with that. That might be the biggest challenge. Having been at this for so many years now, that part gets easier. But
right.
I think to be a good RPM, you have to be well rounded and appeal to a lot of different people.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chris Cohen got a question: is RPM river counting? No, not even ocean counting or pond counting. Chris, don't worry, I'm just giving you a hard time. I
Yeah,
think he means rivet counting.
yeah,
I guess in the pure sense of the term, it could be, but don't think for a second that the folks that go to this style of event are snobs, because that is the last thing that I've ever met at an RPM meet. Very accepting, very open to seeing more folks coming in, kit bashing and custom painting and things of that nature. Would you agree, Lonnie?
Oh, yeah. There are so many kinds of interest, alluding to what I had mentioned earlier, not only for pleasure and enjoying the whole thing and have a good memory, but within that RPM community, some people are operation freaks and they don't really care if they're running an inexpensive freight car. They're doing a good job of mimicking a real railroad at some period of time. And it might be timetable and train order or some other method, but that's their thing. And someone else will never have a piece of track in their home and they'll have a beautiful model and they are counting rivets. And someone else
Mhm.
collects stuff and they'll never run all that they have. There's all kinds of people there. The common theme is they want to do it right. They want to be accurate and they'll share their passion and share their knowledge and ask you questions. So I would never be embarrassed to bring something that wasn't pleasing to that certain rivet counter because there's all kinds of people there.
The other beauty of the RPM too is we usually, as modelers, focus on the locomotives and the freight cars and then maybe the structures. But the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of the RPM is there's a whole crowd of guys, all they model is 187 scale vehicles. And the
Oh, yeah.
amount of modeling effort that is done, there's a whole crowd of guys that show up every year at this RPM. And me being a full scale car guy, I always enjoy to see what these guys are accomplishing. And most of these guys don't, like you said, don't even have a layout.
Mm-hmm.
They've got these beautiful 187 scale, trucks and even military equipment. Last year, you had a 187 scale space shuttle, which
Mm-hmm.
loved
Yeah.
it. I mean, just neat.
Yeah. There's all of that there. I'm intrigued with that too because as your company and others continue to bring out more and more vehicles that are so greatly detailed, that's fun to set those in your layout. It's part of
Oh
it.
yeah. Let's see. We've got one here. What custom model have you seen that always sticks out to you? And that's true. There's usually something that you were not expecting. Can you think of something, Lonnie, that has stuck in your memory in recent years?
Um, Last year we had a couple of things. A fellow brought a river scene with barges on there and a tugboat.
Mm,
That was pretty
yeah,
cool.
that was.
That's not your basic 40-foot boxcar. We've had others like that too. Some are bringing layouts, dioramas that are 10, 15 feet long that are really well done. And then we have a fellow who brings, I think it would be 125th scale. You've seen him there. He's got giant trucks, dump trucks, and wreckers and other things. And he is incredibly talented. There might be in one of them, he has a caboose on the back of a trailer being pulled, and it's
Mhm.
like a large scale or something. But the detail in all of that is phenomenal. Those kinds of things stand out. They really do.
Yeah, they do. Rogan says, I wonder if anyone has tips for early Conrail era, late 70s and 84 cutoffs. It's very difficult and diverse set of equipment they had and the rails they operated. This is one of those instances you might not have a clinic on that specific topic, but if you were, the RPM is definitely there. I remember a few years ago, you had a very knowledgeable gentleman in on the CB&Q in Illinois. And of course, me
Mhm.
being a Q fan, I went there and I learned a lot from that clinic. So if anybody, again, you're wanting to really start modeling a certain time and era, the RPMs are for you because 9 times out of 10, and you just said earlier, there's a lot of clinics that are being done this year. Somebody is going to be offering a clinic that you're going to enjoy.
Yeah. Some people just, that's their main thing. They love to go to clinics all day long. When I go to Cocoa Beach, I don't miss a clinic. I spend all day in the clinics. It's
Yeah.
just, it's fun. It's relaxing.
It really is. And I mean, if you think about it, if you've never been to an RPM, I mean, you walk in, you're going to see high quality layouts. And the nice thing is everybody at those layouts is very engaging. You're going to learn
Mhm.
techniques that you might not know otherwise. I mean, trust me, magazines are great. YouTube is great, but there's something about seeing it firsthand in person and actually
Yeah.
having a conversation one on one with the creator. And then walking into a larger room and seeing manufacturers like Athearn, you're going to see other manufacturers you may not be aware of. I mean, one of them that we've had that I've had personally dealt with was Iowa Scaled Engineering Throttle. I mean, that is something you're not going to see at your normal train show. You're going to see vendors selling really neat items like that. You're going to see displays. You're going
Yeah,
to be
I think
able
all that's
to
true.
pour layouts.
The
Yeah. I
I
mean,
know
so there's
that
so much to do.
I was at Naperville this last year, but I missed the cocktail party. At least that's what I'll call it. It was a social time with food and beverage, but a lot of people were there, and they're just exchanging ideas. And so for all the other good things that we present in these RPMs, just to stand around and talk to people is priceless. Um,
Yeah, it
that's
really
all
is.
part of
It really is. Um, Wardell has a general question that we won't be able to answer tonight, but it's a good reminder. I'm trying to upgrade to DCC decoder. Should I start with a Tech 2? Well, the good news about a show like this is, and this has happened to me, is you're going to have a wide range of display layouts running,
it. Mhm.
and they're going to be operating with a wide range of products. And this gives you a chance to ask them their opinions on what do you think of product A versus product B? What do you think of this DCC system versus this DCC system? And you really get to bounce off a lot of ideas and you get a really, you know, concise, non-biased review of something. And then you've got some takeaway points. I know that helped me when I jumped into DCC probably going on 13 years ago now. But that if you've got those kind of questions, again, this is the type of show to be at.
Yeah, if on that, um, on our website, there's a tab about learning stations, and we have 6 this year. 3 of them deal with technology, DCC, and related items of interest. So if you go there and see those things, we're talking about that. The learning stations give us a chance to expand beyond 21 topics by having manufacturers or talented people have a table with a banner by it that you can see 500 feet away, and you can go up and talk to them at end, all time of that the show is open, and visit with them about that. And so if you go to the website, you'll see who they are and contact information. And I'll just give a hint and say, if you like technology, next year's RPM might be the place to be. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Okay, so you heard it here first, folks. Definitely don't miss out this
Yeah.
year or next year. Sounds like something big is happening next year. Yeah, for the last few minutes, to sum it up, for somebody that's maybe watching this program live or on our YouTube channel, they're thinking, you know what, St. Louis isn't too far away. What's the one thing you think you could tell that person that maybe is like on the edge of committing to come, to get them over the hump and actually come? What is the last carrot before you can kind of swing in front of them?
I think when you walk into the main floor and you see 100 tables of models and 200 tables, 230 or 40 tables of exhibitors, that wow factor blows people away. They're not expecting that much in one building. And that's it. They walk in and go, wow, this is huge.
The
That's
other thing
probably
that I forgot to mention was you guys have one of the largest raffle prizes as far as
yeah.
RPM. In fact, many times just about everybody with a ticket goes home with something.
Yeah. I sent my last email out today to all of the exhibitors, and in that, as you know, I do my annual mooch for a door prize, and I would say all the exhibitors give us something. Some of them, like you guys, give us more than one, and yeah, you get a couple of hundred winners there easily. Goes on for an hour.
Yeah, it really does. So, Saturday afternoon they start doing the raffle and they start calling tickets, and it's amazing what you're going to see. And it's, again, yeah, you'll see your typical, locomotives, you'll see freight cars and things of that. But then there's some other really cool tools or structures or things of that nature that you would not find easily at another train show. So there's another good reason to stop in and check it out. Yes, Athearn will be supporting this year's raffle again. We've got a couple of things planned for you. So I will be
Good.
looking you up either Thursday night or Friday morning when I get in and getting those to you. Looking forward
That's
to it.
great. We appreciate that.
Well, once again, Athearn is going to have a small booth there, and I know Soundtracks is going to be there. I've been so busy, Lonnie, I didn't even check. Is Soundtracks and Athearn together this year or not?
Yes, I have very little to do with the floor plan. That's Dave Rader. But Dave has taken that into consideration, and you guys are connected. That much I know.
Perfect. That's perfect. That's great. So if you have an Athearn product that you've got a question on, or an Athearn product with a Soundtracks decoder, whether it be an Economy or a Tsunami 2, you can come and stop and talk to myself, and you can talk to George Bogatak of Soundtracks. We're very approachable at these shows because, frankly, Lonnie, George and I just have fun at the RPM.
Wonderful. That's great. We want you to have fun. It's not. I know you're there to work, but we want you to have fun.
It's probably one of my favorite shows to do, and yeah, when you're having that much fun and talking and interacting with other modelers, it's hard to call it work. It really is. Well, Lonnie, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come on board with us tonight and talk about the RPM meet. I know you're a busy man. If anybody has any questions, they can go to the website, correct?
Yes, my email, my phone are there. Go there. Again, the website is fabulous. Jeff Kubler, one of our strong members of our team, and his son Eric have developed an incredible website with lots of stuff on it. And just go there and look around and reach out to me if you need to.
Perfect. Well, once again, Lonnie, we appreciate it. Everything that you do for the railroad community. We're more than honored to be part of your RPM meet. And for everyone that's watching out there, whether you're watching us live or you're watching us on YouTube, again, if you like what you see, please do us a favor, like this video. Please add comments to the video or questions. We will be sure to answer them. And subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a video like this drops into your feed. Until next time, everyone, I want everyone out there to be happy, be safe, be kind to others, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.